These times of geopolitical uncertainty and disruption see the maritime industry engaging with the public sector around the world, and for shipping companies having to play the role of international diplomatic actors. Welcome to the latest episode of Chat About Geopolitics and Trade, presented by Maritime NXT founder Punit Oza.
Thank you so much, Marcus, and welcome to another episode on my chat on geopolitics and trade, or as I fondly call it, my chat GPT. Today, I actually have a very interesting company and an interesting set of guests for me, because when we talk about geopolitics, when we talk about trade and maritime, we obviously are not talking about abstract things. We are talking about companies which are impacted by it, and companies need help to navigate these geopolitical challenges. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Dr. Mary Papaschinopoulou and Mr. Neofytos Kourtesis. I hope I got the surnames right, from Mardiplo. This is a company which I came across when I was attending a maritime security summit in Paris earlier this year. And I've met Dr. Mary, and it was very interesting to kind of hear that the kind of work they are doing, which is blending corporate diplomacy, geopolitics, maritime, and a whole bunch of other things which need to be aligned to solve real life problems. And I actually found it completely fascinating. And I'm so thankful, Dr. Mary and Neofytos, that you actually have agreed to come on the podcast. So, welcome to my chat on geopolitics and trade.
Thank you for the invitation, and you're welcome.
Thank you. Great to connect again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And can I also start off by asking you to give a bit more about your own background, both Dr. Mary yourself and Neofytos, and also about the company, and what is the kind of thinking behind? Where is it that you actually add value to maritime corporate so that the listeners can get a perspective as to where you fit in this complex supply chain space? So maybe Dr. Mary, you go first, and then Neofytos, you can add in this, please.
My background is a background of a classical corporate diplomat. I have been working for over 30 years in Brussels, in Hamburg, in Washington, D.C., in Athens, in terms of lobbying for the maritime business. And it is precisely this background that, and my experience, of course, and the new situation we're having, geopolitically speaking, that brought me to the idea of creating Mardiplo together with Neofytos. Mardiplo for me is a company that knows in the 21st century, with all the disruptions we're having and the upsets, it is a company that knows how to cut deals for the companies it represents, and this is how it adds value practically to the table.
Perfect. Neophytos, just a bit of your background and a bit of what you bring to the table.
Yes, actually, I'm a master mariner. I'm at least 15 years to the industry. So I'm coming from a ship owning family. My role on everyday basis is operation manager in a shipping company running LPG and tanker ships, and I'm also well experienced in bulk carrier ships. So we have three divisions to choose how to play, and we are well experienced on both three also sectors. I have a master degree. I have a master degree from SUNY Maritime in New York in international transportation management. I'm with Dr. Mary since 5 years ago, maybe. I used to be her client. We have the first success story together. So I had a proposal to make it happen. And here we are after 5 years. We have many success cases. Actually, the percent is, I don't want to exaggerate to say 100%, but it's nearby to 100%. So the feedback we have from their clients and from any other shareholders is extremely positive for such a new, innovative idea that from theory became practice. And everybody is supporting, and there is a win-win end.
If you're enjoying the Seatrade Maritime Podcast, make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing on the app of your choice.
So you talked about a success story. So both Dr. Mary and Neofytos, if you can share whatever, maybe it's a dated story, but just to illustrate what kind of a success are we talking about? What kind of situations, complexities, and how do you kind of go about doing it? Because the questioning for the rest of the episode will be very much kind of based on what you have actually been achieving in the past, and that can be a very good blueprint to talk more about it. So maybe if you can share an example, that'll be really, really good.
Yes, we can share the first success story that make us established.
Okay.
It has to do with we have the allowance to say the country is in Bangladesh.
Okay.
So we have been appointed by a PNI club, first class, to solve a situation, a claim actually, with a big amount.
Right.
That was a collision between a commercial ship, a bulk carrier vessel, let's say,
Yeah.
with two Navy ships at Bangladesh. I don't want to be specific to mention any ports
No,
or.
that's fine. You can share as much as you can. That's clear enough. So how did you go about doing that?
So there was a bank guarantee with many millions on the table, requesting from the shipping owner and from the PNI club on behalf of the ship owner to pay this amount to the Navy of Bangladesh because there should be some damages to be rectified. And this case was pending for many years. PNI Club has done a great effort through the litigation process, through their local, let's say, in quotation, expertise, and the feedback was zero. So a committee should be established through political channels and together with the Navy headquarters, so to find a solution and a board to decide the future of the case. This meeting could never be achieved by the locals and their power. So the PNI appointed us. We tried to put the case on the table to have a thoroughly. It was many parties involved in this board,
Sure.
including politicians, including admirals, including ministries. So it was a big discussion ongoing, big on a negotiations basis to various matters to discuss. And after, let's say, 6, 7 hours of negotiations in one table in Bangladesh Navy headquarters, that was by default, it's something that is unique. Some commercial parties like us to deal with the Navy and ministries of Bangladesh. It was also for them the first time that has happened.
Right.
We came to a result, to a really successful result for the PNI Club, the owner, and the Navy and the ministries of Bangladesh. So this is the bank guarantee was retrieved, and the Navy has been paid an agreed amount that it was always in agreement with our shareholder, that was the PNI Club and the ship owner. So a big matter that it was painful by spending fees, bank charges, lawyers' fees, and various others annual expenses that is, trust me, are significant for the owner, for his records, and for the PNI Club. It's bleeding, actually, came to an end with, from both sides, having only good things to say about that.
I have done business into Bangladesh. It's not an easy place. So kudos.
Okay, now we're talking.
But no, I fully agree with you. I think it's an interesting idea, and maybe using this example, maybe Dr. Mary, if you can just think about it and let me know what kind of, with so many moving parts, with such a dynamic environment that the world today sits in, you have to manage multiple stakeholder relationships. Some of them are contractual stakeholders, some of them are non-contractual stakeholders. Like in this case of a collision, obviously you had no contract with the Navy in any ways whatsoever. You have to manage these stakeholders. So what are the kind of key aspects? So what are the kind of key ways that companies can kind of think about managing it? Of course, what you guys offer in Mardiplo is one part of the equation. But what is the kind of mindset do you think that the companies need? What are the essential aspects that they need to keep with them in order to kind of manage the stakeholder universe, which is changing and dynamic all the time?
Actually, Neophytos gave a very, very good example because it exemplifies the way we work. The way Mardiplo works is building influence, first of all, and trusted access with key public sector actors, with governments, with regulatory bodies. This is something that purely legal or commercial teams normally or typically cannot achieve on their own and do not achieve. So this is the very first important thing, that building influence, making trusted access. The second thing is that we resolve those protracted and complex disputes with a certain prudence and discretion and a lot of cultural empathy, which is also very important if you need to find a win-win solution with the other party.
Sure.
I have to stress that in most of the cases that we've been handling, Punit, governments were not obliged to sit on any table. So practically bringing a government to negotiate with you, it already means that you have this kind of trusted access, which is Mardiplo's, I would say, trademark.
Sure.
It is the access, the privileged access on transparent, of course, terms, and generating soft power to elevate the strategic leverage that shipping companies and P&I needs in order to negotiate in a beneficial way. Now, how does a company in the dynamic trade environment that you have been referring to,
Yeah.
how does it manage all these relationships with stakeholders to maximize opening up new markets, minimizing disputes and losses? This is something very difficult for most of the shipping companies and the P&I clubs because it's not their business.
Yes.
This is why Mardiplo saw that there is a gap in the market, practically.
Sure.
All these companies, shipping, P&I clubs, charters, classification societies, they are all entering a new kind of era. And in this kind of era, they need to focus on three pillars, according to my opinion. First of all, continue stakeholder engagement, a political one. It's very important.
Yeah.
So this regular dialogue with counterparties, and of course, early escalation mechanisms when conditions change. And these both elements, they are not typically offered by law companies or by mediators or arbitrators that are practically offering formal procedures in order to solve problems. So what we think is that a shipping company or a P&I club nowadays, in order to be rapid, swift, flexible, and deal with problems
True.
and cut the right deals, has to try through maritime diplomacy and to cultivate clarity, monitoring, continuous stakeholder engagement, and of course, real-time action. This is something that, again, legal procedures do not guarantee.
True, absolutely, and I fully agree with you. I think the rules of the games are changing all the time, and obviously, people that shipping companies never needed to consider as stakeholders are probably coming right on the top of the list in some cases. So that is geopolitics for you, literally, as you talk about it. Now, here lies an interesting idea because I was discussing with somebody the other day, and he asked the question whether you will need a chief geostrategic officer to be a part of the C suite of a company, especially a shipping company. And in my mind, a strategic officer or a compliance officer or risk management function is more an internal looking function, but a geostrategic function is going to be more an outward looking function who will then have to bring whatever is happening outside the company to within the company. And obviously you are an important part of that discussion in terms of how that works. Do you actually see in your interactions with various companies and the P&I clubs that there is actually such a person now who's kind of looking at the big picture and not just what's happening in the company, but looking at the bigger picture around in the geopolitical space and then coordinating with you to try and create a win-win situation? Are you seeing an evolving C-suite role for a strategy officer becoming a geo-strategy officer? That's my question to you.
So I think that this question is extremely generic. So because the sizes of the companies and the financial budget that each company has,
Yes.
it's not clear if they may support on a permanent basis such a key person. So
Sure.
this is what Mardiplo does. Is do actually. We think that is alive. So anyway, so for the most of the companies, instead of trying to increase their budget and expense of hiring such a person, they can use Mardiplo
Hmm.
exactly for that purpose. Is one of our services,
Sure.
and outsource as a third party this role to us, because is what we do actually on an everyday basis. We deal worldwide with all issues. Dr. Mary has daily, let's say, information from various countries, governments, ministries. So I think it's a good idea that for if a company thinks that such a position required, before starting the relevant costs to put in their budget, just to Google, let's say, Mardiplo and save some money for the beginning, and then to start to see what the information will have, and then maybe they think that it's a good solution and there is no need to hire such a person.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't disagree. Before Dr. Mary, I'll just say I don't disagree with what you're saying. It depends on the company itself. But my question was more about based on your dealings with the companies and P&I clubs and other clients and stakeholders, do you see the attitude of the C-suite changing more outward looking compared to just inward looking? Because earlier my impression was that most of these C-suite roles actually were more inward looking. They just tried to make sure that their company was following the regulations, compliant with all the requirements, and make sure that their operations are going very smoothly. However, most of the CEOs have also been talking about geopolitics as the number one risk. How do they actually perceive that risk is, of course, what you talk about Mardiplo all the time. But I'm talking about whether there's a change in perception, whether there's a change in understanding and attitude of these people, because you've been dealing with these companies in past. That
Correct.
was the question really about it. And of course, a company's size will determine whether they can actually afford a resource like that. Maybe they don't even need to afford a resource. They can actually retain somebody like Mardiplo, as you rightly said. But at the end of the day, your own mindset in the C-suite level should change in order to be more outward looking than inward looking. That was the question really from my side.
It depends exactly of the size of the company and the trading of the company and the type of the ships of the vessel and the type of the cargos. Because for a company just to make a research on a daily basis for what's going worldwide,
Yep.
the developments are so complicated that I think there is no a straight answer on that.
Understood.
If there should be a person, because even if there was a person, I don't know how he can be trusted. Even he was the god himself. I mean, he could not predict what will going to happen the next day.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
if Suez Canal is going to close or not, if Panama, so it's really some information cannot be controlled.
Absolutely. No, I
So
understand that.
I think there is no straightforward answer on that from my point of view.
Interesting. All right. Dr. Mary, any thoughts from your side?
Yes, let me give you perhaps a corporate diplomat's understanding. I believe that in some organizations, this role of a chief geostrategic officer already exists informally in one way. The perception you were talking about, I believe that the perception is changing. Why?
Yes.
Because, of course, geopolitics increasingly shape the trade routes, the sanctions compliance, or the supply chain resilience, or the capital allocation. So for sure, we have this kind of change. But of course, this is an industry where everything happens very slow. So I believe from my experience that most of these companies that they outsource this role a lot, Punit, to, for example, private security companies.
Sure.
And by the way, Mardiplo works together with private security companies because, I mean, shipping companies, Finite Labs, they are looking at the threat picture right now for shipping. And this is changing every day. It's very intensive. It's very expensive. So the thing is, what do you do when, for example, you have a piracy case, right?
Yeah.
What do you do there? Of course, you have the private security companies that are focusing on digital monitoring and on situational awareness and emergency response. But what Mardiplo or where Mardiplo comes in and creates a wholly new service, a one-stop shop, is that we say that all this kind of work needs some kind of political back channeling and
Actually,
some
that's true.
kind of negotiation skills,
That's true.
because you definitely need to be situationally aware, that's for sure, and respond. But then you need to start discussions and you
Absolutely.
need to get intel. So this is something that Mardiplo right now, in terms of the changing picture in geopolitics, is getting into. And we work together with private security companies to offer this kind of seamless service. And of course, to give solutions,
Absolutely.
real-time solutions to very, very difficult problems involving not just capital or vessels or assets, but people's lives.
Absolutely, and that's well said. I think it's an interesting perspective, and thanks for being frank about that. But therein lies one thing that I wanted to understand. Nearly every job that I know we talk about is obviously impacted by the artificial intelligence discussions that are happening. Obviously, in this case, it's so relationship centric. It's so much of linkages and back channel discussions that it's very difficult for technology to take that over. But how much technology do you use in the Mardiplo process as such to try and make sure that you have everything that you need in terms of information and data and everything else put together? How much technology goes into this kind of a work today? There is no substitute to humans in this case, like yourself or Neofytos. But I'm just asking, understanding from a perspective of how much of augmentation or support do you get from technology today, and is there any support from technology, or is it very much human centric today, even the support side?
Of course, we use technology in regards to research and various informations. So we use third parties that they are focused on this.
Okay.
It's their job, let's say. Companies that provide intelligence and inside info, of course,
Right.
by providing a fee or because we are not. It's not our capacity to have our own research department. So we use the experts,
Sure.
and we are getting the data and any information required from them, that they are always updated, and it's exactly what they do. But in addition to that, also we have also our cross-checking methods, of course, always through internet and data informations that we collect. But trust me, the most important, let's say, leverage of our company is exactly what you said, the talking and the relationship. So
Yes.
many things. We are, Dr. Mary and me, we are traveling around the world. We are participating to various discussions with various different persons, either from political background, either from maritime industry. So we are sharing our information, and our, let's say, final outcome is really, let's say, important for the future of any case that may come. The most important thing that we do and our clients like is that we fly on the spot
Hmm.
and we meet the stakeholders on site, so face to face discussions.
Yes.
And we have an assessment for the lawyers, for the correspondents on the spot, on their country. So this is something that many, let's say, companies cannot do or they don't want to do. This is very important in our times because you can understand the jurisdictions we are flying and we are visiting.
Right.
It's not westernized, most of them. Maybe they're trying to become, but they're not. So
Sure. So they have different rules of the game, basically. Simple as that.
yes, exactly. And every time we need to be adjusted with their culture, with their way of thinking, and with their political characteristics. So, for instance, Bangladesh is one of the countries we are discussing. Algeria is
Yes.
another. China, India, um, West Africa, that we have a case in.
Latin America.
So
Wow.
there are not countries that you can deal easy with them only using digital information or AI or any other coming theoretical, let's say, or how to say, you have to be there. You have to look their face. You have to talk their language. Dr. Mary, she speaks, I don't know, remember, maybe six, seven languages. So she can, yes. So she can, you have to go with them. You have to be adjusted and
Absolutely.
coordinated with their culture and the way of thinking. So this, I think, it cannot be, let's say, changed with any AI or any kind of technology that may come in the future. So we keep it traditional, but always with a digital and AI influence that is, of
AI
course,
as a support.
required.
Yeah, AI as a support mechanism. So obviously that
Definitely,
yeah,
yes.
that is what it is. Yep. Very good.
Just to add, of course, AI in terms of intel, but of course you need human intel, as we know, not just AI intel. For geopolitical and regulatory awareness, that's where I see a lot right now, AI, and for risk management, but also for scenario planning, I would say, in terms of negotiations. Because
Interesting.
let's not forget, at the end of the day, you need to negotiate. Negotiations is an art and a science that I think, well, the shipping community uses instinctively,
Yes.
but I'm sure that they can definitely profit from our methodical, let's say, scientific, but also situational response according to where we are and what part of this world.
Sure. I'm sure they will, whatever public spaces you have, then obviously people can learn very much from that. I think we've kind of had an amazing conversation. I teach geopolitics and trade flows, and impact on trade flows in multiple universities around the world now. And I talk about it from a very practitioner perspective rather than a academic perspective. And great to see the stakeholder picture complete like this with you guys out there. But I also have a lot of listeners on this podcast who are students. Normally, you see Seatrade Maritime is mostly heard by maritime professionals, but now I think with my podcast here, thanks to Seatrade Maritime, they have a lot of students coming in as well. So if you have to recruit, Dr. Mary and Neophytos, both of you, if you have to recruit the younger generation into a company like yours, what kind of skills are you looking at, and what kind of skills do you think you would kind of identify as great to start off, and then you can imbibe new skills as you go along? But what is the kind of, if a student of mine needs to kind of think about, I want to join Mardiplo, what do you think you'll be looking in him or her to recruit that person? I'll be fascinated to hear about that.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, I very often go to universities and talk about maritime diplomacy. I was last week at the Pantheon University for International Relations here in Athens, Punit,
Yes.
and in January we will be discussing with the Patterson School of Diplomacy, which is very much security focused in Kentucky, US. So, what I want from people working for Mardiplo is, first of all, strong fundamentals,
Hmm.
which means that they understand trade, they understand shipping, they understand negotiations and diplomacy. And second, I need a lot of drive, because we need to excel in a new market with an innovative tool that we have created with Neophytos. And this is something which really demands a lot of drive from people to succeed.
Fantastic. And Neophytos, obviously, you have got some traits, some skills, some aspects that you want to actually have youngsters to have when they ask for joining your team, basically.
Yes, it's a very, I think it's the most difficult question to be answered because actually, new generation has, I think it's kind of complicated of what is the path that they should follow. So we are combining diplomacy and maritime in this, let's say, market industry job. So I will be very brief. We need sharp thinking,
Yes.
open-minded,
Yep.
a trusted personality, honest because we are based on transparency,
Yep.
and multicultural approach, and something for last that made sounds funny to speak a lot of languages frequently because this is my bad let's say I cannot speak so many languages, so yes, it's
Very interesting.
yes.
Very, very interesting. And what you're mentioning, Neophytos, is a lot to do with fundamental values and skill sets that you're looking at. So it's really interesting to see that. And I must say, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I will be in Greece, in Athens, in second week of February for a conference. So I will definitely try and look you guys up and maybe have a cup of coffee to discuss more in future. But in general, I would like to say that this is a very niche area and it's something which is very unique from that perspective. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and being candid about these things. I'm sure that you will have more stories to say in future when we again get to talk. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for your time.
You're welcome, and thank you for the very pleasant conversation, and we wish to see you again and meet each other.
Absolutely. And I look forward. Thank you, Dr. Mary. And thanks, Neil.
Thank you, Punit. Looking forward to seeing you in Athens.
Absolutely. And thank you, Marcus, again for all the support and for Seatrade Maritime for helping with this podcast. It's been a pleasure. Until the next episode, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Seatrade Maritime Podcast, and we look forward to joining you on our next episode.